Red is the most popular color for sports cars for a reason. It's scientifically proven to raise your heart rate, as it's exciting. This Lamborghini Diablo, no different than ours, is colored in a beautiful red, reminiscent to that of Victory Red from Ferrari. The only problem that this car seems to have, despite its perfect condition, is that it's not ours.
This is ours. Think we can afford that?
This is our sports car, if you could call it that. A 1985 Honda Civic CRX Si, in mostly original condition. Obviously ours has many problems, the rust, broken plastics, missing pieces, but for what it is, it's quite a survivor. We've done a few things to keep it fresh over the years, but for the most part, it's relatively original. As I was backing in for the coffee part of Cars and Coffee, I realized that the exhaust didn't sound very good, and I also happened to realize that I happen to get very bad.
Still a few more feet to go.
At reverse parking today, making this problem even worse.
Maybe a few more. Alright, that'll do.
Once I had completed my seemingly simple task of parking, I decided it was time for the refreshments part of Cars and Coffee, also known as coffee.
It seems my CRX has caught a bad case of 3 a.m. civicitis. Symptoms may include rust, poor maintenance, obnoxious noise, and for those who unironically enjoy that sound, virginity.
After finishing my refreshing yet very overpriced caffeinated beverage, I decided to go run some errands. Shortly before doing so, I happened to realize I also got very bad at the driving part as well.
Right there, right. Yes.
This had very much exacerbated the effects of the so-called 3 a.m. civicitis. While we're on the subject, why would anybody want to drive around in a car that sounds like this all day? After all, when you're bad at driving, as typical 3 a.m. Civic drivers are, the problem gets a lot worse in an enclosed space like a parking garage. As I stopped by the local tailor I use, I'd realized the effects of the 3 a.m. civicitis had really starting to take a hold of me. I realized I just had to be as annoying as possible when parking. Obviously, this exhaust has to go. But the problem is, it's a first-gen CRX, so what options do we have? We'll show you what we found.
The car that we have, first gen CRX. Second gen CRX. And the Del Sol, also known as the third CRX. Though this one doesn't count. We also have the third generation Civic and the fourth generation Civic. There aren't any options available for us, so this is out of the question. As logic would follow, they don't make any exhaust kits for this one either. Next, the second generation CRX. There aren't many options available, and the one that we know of from King Motorsports is $3,500 from Seclan. That's a bit expensive. This leaves us with the last option, fourth generation Civic.
While the first gen CRX and fourth gen Civic platforms are technically very different and parts do not interchange, the layout of the exhaust is virtually the same, the Civic just being slightly larger. It just so happens that HKS makes an exhaust just for the 4th Gen Civic Si. Before the replacement though, we want a baseline to see how well this car is doing. So we took it to a local dyno. Under the hood, you'll find this car still has its original engine, original transmission, and the original airbox. Most of what we replaced were really just maintenance items and a few broken pieces. Spark plugs, ignition wires, distributor cap, distributor rotor, ignition coil, radiator cap, and oil filler cap. Those were just cosmetics though. Oh yeah, the JW speaker headlights too. Those got put in. While much of the exhaust is original, someone in its past lopped off the exhaust from the bend around the fuel tank to the tip of the muffler. With the car strapped down, fans in place, we're ready to see what this old girl can put to the wheels. All 3 runs were perfectly consistent within 1 horsepower of each other, making about 83 horsepower at the wheels and 85 pound-feet of torque. The factory numbers at the crank are 91 horsepower and 93 pound-foot, meaning that it's somehow making close to factory numbers at the crank with minimal losses if this is correct. So now it's off to take this car to the exhaust shop to make sure that we can get this new one put on. We were kindly referred over to BFS Performance by Racebox. BFS Performance specializes in modern Mustangs of all things, and we were bringing our ancient Honda. They normally do exhausts with bolt-on parts, but we needed a custom job. So clearly, the right people for this task. I jest, of course, but at the very least they were willing to give it a shot, so we put it up on the lift and let them take a look. First up, we're using some hand tools to see if we can break that cat loose. Unfortunately, it didn't work. And now, an electric impact gun, which also didn't work. Things are clearly going well. And now, we managed to snap the stud off of the cat. Things are going very well.
Snap number 1.
Instead of trying with the cat again, I decided to unbolt the exhaust at the header just to at the very least pull the whole thing off to get a better picture of what this new exhaust is supposed to look like. Unfortunately, this last exhaust that was put on the car was all welded as one piece, so there's no place to unbolt it. And therefore, the only way that they could figure out to get it off the car was to simply cut it out. Unfortunately, after the exhaust came off the car, they realized that this new exhaust just didn't fit no matter what they tried. No matter what solution they had, they didn't have any equipment to make any material or bend it in any way to make it work. So we ended up having to re-weld the exhaust, put it back on the car, and try elsewhere. I even asked to pay them for their time, but they actually didn't ask for anything in return. So I'm very grateful for that. Now we moved on to shop number 2. Shop number 2 will remain unnamed for reasons we will discuss later. However, they had a pipe bender and were willing to take on the task, so we let them have a crack at it. Once it got in the air, they told us that the catalytic converter had to go because that bolt on the cat had snapped off and there was no way to weld a new one on. The rest of it also just didn't fit any normal way they tried to put it, and so therefore all of it had to be chopped up. The mid-pipe remains, the muffler remains, and part of the curve over the axle remains. The rest of it had to go, including all the flanges. But at this point, I didn't care. I just wanted the thing on, and I let them take it. Partway through our filming process, they suddenly got cold feet for mysterious reasons, despite knowing we were going to film, and it was a bit trickier to get some footage during this process. When they were finally done, we got to take a look, and it was okay. It's fine. they had to use what we gave them, which wasn't matching, and they made it work, which was all we could really ask for. Pro tip though, if you do go to a sketchy muffler shop, make sure you bring a friend that speaks Spanish, because that way you can understand the crap that they talk about you behind your back. And before you leave, make sure to ask for your catalytic converter back. These guys tried to take it, and I caught them doing it, and I managed to get it back. Originally, I was planning on keeping the catalytic converter on the car, just to keep it a one-to-one comparison if a catback exhaust made the difference, but we were this far already, we had the dyno available, so screw it, let's just see what it does. The final results are 90 horsepower at the wheels, 92 pound-foot, meaning somehow this car is making more than what it was rated for at the factory at the wheels. That's incredible. However, we didn't just do this for 7 horsepower and 8 pound-foot of torque. We did this because we love the car, and others love it too. They like to see it, and we like to show it. We want to give this car a second life in a way. Even though we weren't able to keep the catalytic converter for the test and keep it a one-to-one, we still managed to prove that you can make power and not sound like an ass. And for that, we consider it a success. Mission accomplished.
And that is why the original exhaust failed. Engines are air pumps after all, so all the moisture in the air is naturally going to flow through the exhaust. And what you see is that condensation buildup, the hotter air condensing on the colder surface, and with an exhaust made out of pig iron, rust is what you're going to get. So that'll be all for us for now. Don't shift miss.